Thank you for joining us today. I am Michael Hunter, a member of the Board of Directors for the Young Business Professionals of the Coastal Bend. I'm proud to welcome you to Corpus Christi 2020. As a community, we often take time to look back and celebrate the past accomplishments of the year or think ahead of what's coming up in the next year. Today, we are fast-forwarding much further to think about what we want Corpus Christi and the Coastal Bend to look like in 2020. But we'd like to start off here by recognizing our elected officials. Will Mr. Honorable State Representative Todd Hunter please stand? City Councilwoman Colleen McIntyre, please stay standing. It's my turn to get you back. You have to continue to stand. Mark Scott with the City Council, and all other elected officials that we may have missed. Thank you all very much for joining us today. Now, please join me in recognizing a special group of people whose leadership and focus helped turn Texas A&M Corpus Christi into a four-year university, marking a major turning point for the entire Coastal Bend community. 4UCC was more than a university booster club. This group of 500 members worked on all fronts to bolster the island university and tout the benefits of bringing in freshmen and sophomores. 4UCC mobilized the community. It was a community-led effort spearheaded by Mayor Luther Jones. 4UCC members came from many backgrounds, but all shared a common goal: to get a four-year university for Corpus Christi. A&M Corpus Christi has come a long way since welcoming the first class of freshmen and sophomores in 1994. The Island University now has more than 11,000 students. We could not have gotten here without the commitment of the 4UCC group. Will Jim Maloney please come to the stage to receive this plaque on behalf of all 4UCC members as a thank you for all the work y'all did to help our community. On behalf of the young business professionals and Texas A&M Corpus Christi community, we thank you for your efforts, Dr. Maloney, with 4UCC. Also, the young business professionals would like to recognize Dr. Robert Ferguson, the first president of the four-year university, for his vision and leadership. Dr. Ferguson, would you please come forward to the stage and be recognized? We'd also like to ask any member of the 4UCC group to please stand so we can recognize you today. We also thank and remember our first freshman class. Many are now serving on community boards in a variety of leadership roles. We have professionals who have changed the business community, made new discoveries, created 21st century art, and shaped the minds of the next generation, all right here in the Coastal Bend. Thank you all for your support of growth and development in the Coastal Bend and supporting YBP and Texas A&M Corpus Christi with your presence today. Might as well, let's do it. With that look back at our past, let's talk about today and our future. Dr. Flavius Killebrew became the 10th president of Texas A&M Corpus Christi in 2005. He conducted a strategic, comprehensive plan called Momentum 2015, which has brought the university to where it is today. Now, to reach the next level of becoming an emerging research university, Dr. Killebrew, we would now like to pledge the support of the young business professionals to help you achieve that goal. Dr. Killebrew, please share with the group a little more about the path to emerging research status.
Thank you, Michael. I'm really happy to be here today, excited to be here today with such an energetic and exciting group as the young business professionals and all those gathered here in the room. And I'm excited that the young business professionals has taken on the task of supporting the university in its goal of trying to achieve emerging research status. When I began as president, we launched a comprehensive plan, as Michael said, called Momentum 2015, which brought us to today with more than 80 degree programs and over 11,000 students, and about a couple of $100 million in construction that's happened on the campus during that time. Now we're on to Momentum 2015. Momentum 2020, to play on words, the 2020 vision, but to take us out to the year 2020. Let me tell you briefly about what this goal is about. We're setting the course for the next 5 years that's based on growth, academic excellence, and research that's already in play on the Island University campus. Our strategic plan has a clear understanding of the role that A&M Corpus Christi plays in this community. We remain committed to developing successful students and welcoming a diverse and highly qualified student body. And we're increasing our efforts in research, scholarship, and creative activity all across the campus in all the various fields. Our goal to become the first emerging research university in South Texas has the potential to change the trajectory of Corpus Christi and the Coastal Bend, just like the transition from an upper level and graduate to a four-year university did back in 1994. Now, emerging research universities bring in needed resources in the way of funding and high-tech laboratories. Emerging research universities attract faculty focused on research and scholarly activity. Emerging research universities also enrich and expand cultural opportunities in the community. We're already seeing the buzz and impact the young business professionals right here in this room. YBP of the Coastal Bend is embracing this goal with events like this that focus on our future and how we can work together to plan and improve our community. It's that synergy led by the young business professionals that has helped other communities revitalize neighborhoods, grow the arts and entertainment scene, and lift up a community through their participation in public life. We will only be able to grow that young professional community and keep our best and brightest in the Coastal Bend by fostering the types of research and high-tech industries that emerging research status brings. I'm excited to have the YBP taking the mantle of this initiative for Corpus Christi together. Together we will transform the Coastal Bend. I want to give my thanks to the employers of these young business professionals too, who allow their young employees to join and work with YBP. If your young professionals are not involved in YBP, please encourage them to do so and join in a part of this dynamic organization. Thank you all for your support and for being here today.
Thank you, President Killebrew. Now, I get the distinct pleasure to introduce Dr. Ray Perryman. Dr. Perryman is President and CEO of the Perryman Group, an economic research and analysis firm in Waco, Texas. He holds a BS in mathematics from Baylor University and a PhD in economics from Rice University. In addition to his earned degrees, Dr. Perryman has received an honorary doctorate from the International Institute for Advanced Studies. Dr. Perryman has held numerous academic positions in his career. His current academic roles include Senior Research Fellow of the IC2 Institute of the University of Texas, Institute Distinguished Professor of Economic Theory and Method at the International Institute for Advanced Studies. In the professional arena, Dr. Perryman has authored more than 2,000 trade articles, publishes a subscription forecasting service and a monthly newsletter, writes a syndicated newspaper column, hosts a daily radio commentary, and appears regularly on National Public Radio. His firm engages in a broad range of complex projects for major corporate and governmental interests and has served the needs of more than 2,000 clients. Some of his most gratifying work has been in the field of economic development, where he has played a key role in the creation of hundreds of thousands of jobs. He is a past recipient of the Outstanding Texas Leader Award and has been honored by the Texas Legislature for his tireless efforts in helping to build a better Texas. Most recently, Dr. Perryman has been selected as the 2012 Texan of the Year by the Texas Legislative Conference. It was also Dr. Perryman's research and data which inspired and created the Emerging Research University Initiative in the state of Texas. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Ray Perryman.
See if I can walk around with this thing. Well, no, it's hooked in here, so I can't walk around. So I'll have to. I don't do well gripping these things, but I'll do the best I can. It's great to be here. It's always a pleasure to be in Corpus Christi. I love your beautiful city. I love every opportunity I have to come here. It's great to see my friend Todd Hunter. And as much as I hate to admit it, I have to tell you, I don't get involved in people's local politics, but you could not have a better representative in Austin than Todd Hunter. You absolutely could not. And it is with great pain that I admit that. No, seriously. It's great to be here, and I appreciated Michael's kind introduction and everything Dr. Killebrew said. I'm going to do something before I start here. I only have a few minutes to talk to you, and they're supposed to give me this sign so I don't talk too long because I'm bad to do that. But I am going to do one thing that speakers are not supposed to do by starting out. I'm going to add a little bit to my resume because he left a couple of things out that I think are very important. Three, actually. Number one, the Dallas Morning News recently called me the state's premier economist, okay, and barbecue connoisseur, okay? So you're being addressed by the state's premier barbecue connoisseur according to the Dallas Morning News. I thought you need to know that. I was also recently named an honorary Kilgore Rangerette, and I thought y'all need to know that too. They gave me a uniform, but they did not invite me to the Macy's parade or the Cotton Bowl parade, so I'm feeling kind of left out right now. I got to work on my kick a little bit. And then the other one was the little high school I graduated from this past year was kind enough to give me their Distinguished Alumni Award. A little small town in rural East Texas. Town that when I was there had about 1,000 people, and that was very, very nice. I really appreciate it. Of course, when somebody that knows you gives you an award, that means a little bit more. And so I went back up there, and when I was getting ready to do it all, my wife Lorraine, who many of you know, asked me. She said, "Well, we've never talked about it. What was it like growing up in a town that small?" And I said, well, it was okay. I loved it. It was a great environment to grow up in, but it had its challenges. We had to take driver's education and sex education in the same car. And and she thought about that a minute, and she said, well, that makes sense. You don't drive very well either. Okay, I'll stop now. Again, in a short period of time, I want to give you just a little bit of an overview of what we're seeing right now nationally in the state economy and a little bit locally, but I especially want to talk about what's going on at the university in this great initiative to become an emerging research university. Michael mentioned that we did the study to contribute to the state to try to get the whole emerging university thing set up, but I don't want to take too much credit for that. I did the study because the right person asked me to do it, and the right person was Governor Bill Hobby, who picked up the phone and called me and said, you're going to do this. So yes, indeed, I volunteered to do this, but it was his leadership that really spearheaded that effort, along with the regents of several university systems, and it was really a joint effort of a lot of people to get that done, and I think it's a very, very important initiative for the state of Texas because we do lag behind other states California has 4 times as many Tier 1 universities as we have. New York has more, Massachusetts has more, and we're competing in an information age. And it's very important that we aspire to do more with our universities, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. So I'm going to try to spend 5 minutes or less talking about the national and state economies here. National economy is finally doing well, I guess is the way I would describe it. You may not realize that we're in about the 64th month of recovery right now. And that's hard to believe. It doesn't seem like we've been in recovery for 5 years. And the reasons are a couple of reasons. One, the recession was so bad, and the recovery was so slow. It's taken us forever to build any momentum in this recovery. And in fact, it took 58 months just to get back the jobs we lost. And so it literally took 58 months. That's the average recovery since World War II has been 58 months. It took us that long to get back to even this time. It normally takes 13, 14 months to get back to even. It took 58 months because of the recession. The good news is, in the past few months, we've created jobs at a nice clip, the best clip we've done since the 90s. Investment is picking up, consumer confidence is up. We're coming into the Christmas season with some people actually having some income to spend and feeling good about things. So we're finally on a pretty good path in the U.S. economy, and I think we'll continue it for a while. I think the biggest risk we face right now, and there's always a lot of risk out there, but the biggest one is monetary policy. And without getting too esoteric about it, with an economy the size it is today, under normal conditions, the Federal Reserve's balance sheet would have assets of about $900 billion. It has assets of about $4.5 trillion. Now, what that means is they bought a lot of bonds in the last few years, a process you've all heard of called quantitative easing, where they're trying to stimulate the economy by buying bonds. And I think some of that was necessary. The first part of it, when the financial system was on the brink, was absolutely essential. People want an armchair quarterback, and I don't care what they say. We had to do it, no choice. First couple of $1 trillion, they get a pass for that. After that, you may have noticed Congress was having a hard time getting anything done. And so the Fed kind of said, we'll try to pick up the slack, and we're going to try to stimulate the economy with monetary policy. And instead of the things you normally do in a recession, because we couldn't get anything done in any other place. And I admire them for trying it, but the problem is they don't have the right toolbox for that. Because what they basically do is control short-term interest rates. Well, they got them down to 0. But people still felt so bad about things, they still didn't want to spend money. They don't have any clout in their toolbox. They can't make people do anything. They can encourage them. Well, if you've just lost your job and somebody says you can buy a car for 0% interest, you're not going to buy a car. You know, they just didn't have the right tools, but they tried. And as a result of that, we had this quantitative easing. And then they started trying to pull back on it a little bit. And by that I just mean easing less, buying less bonds every month. They finally got back to 0 about a month ago, and now they're going to have to get that balance sheet back in shape. The risk we face is the following. If they do it too quickly, they'll choke off the recovery. We don't want that. If they don't do it quickly enough, we will eventually get to the point where we have too much money chasing too few goods, we'll have too much inflation, and that'll choke off the recovery. So they've got a tightrope to walk. They've got to do it just right. The good news is they're good at this. They're back doing what they've always done now, not all the stuff they had to do for the past 5 or 6 years. So I think they will do a pretty good job of it, but it's critical that they do a good job of it. And I think that's the biggest risk we face. But on the whole, we're feeling pretty good about the U.S. economy right now. During that period of time, that 58 months when the U.S. economy was getting back to even, Texas had lost 400,000 jobs in the recession. We got back that 400,000. We got back another 400,000. And we got back another 200,000. And then since then, we've gotten back another 200,000. So we have literally grown. As the U.S. got back to even, we basically got back 3 times. So we are way up in that. And that's why a lot of people are talking about the Texas miracle and things like that, our very rapid growth rate. In fact, the past 12 months represented the largest 12-month period of job growth in Texas in its history, over 416,000 jobs, an amazing, amazing statistic. So our state is doing quite well economically, and there's a lot of reasons for that. Our regulatory climate is good. Our cost climate is good. Our tax climate is good. Our incentive programs are very good and have been very, very effective. We have a very strong banking system that didn't fall prey to a lot of the abuses that a lot of the banking system around the country felt. Our housing market remained pretty healthy through this whole debacle. I spoke in Orange County not long ago, and the zip code I was in, the average housing price was down 40%. In Texas, the average housing price went down 2%. So we did very, very well and came out of it very quickly. And so all of that's very good. All of those things contributed to the growth, but I have to tell you, and that's where I get down to your local area, the big job generator of this whole thing has been an oil boom of a type like we've never seen before. It's very different than the oil boom in the 70s because the oil boom in the 70s, people don't realize this, 1973 was the watershed year. And, you know, basically 3 things happened that year that people know about, okay? One is we had the embargo in the Middle East. That didn't do any good. That didn't have any effect. Embargoes don't work. It's the old transitive property from high school algebra. If A won't sell to B, and A has it and B needs it, A will sell to C and C will sell to B, and they'll break the embargo. Embargoes don't work, okay? But they also cut production and held it together in the cartel at a time we needed all the oil that was being produced, and that caused prices to go up. That started what, from 1973 to 1981, the country caused the energy crisis, and Texas caused the oil boom. It's exactly the same thing, just a different perspective, because we were selling it and most folks were buying it, and the price went up 1,200%. And that's pretty simple. If you're selling something, price goes up 1,200%, that's good. If you're buying something, price goes up 1,200%, that's bad. But the other thing, the third thing I was going to mention, but I also got married for the first time. That didn't work out so well. We won't talk about that. But yeah, the other thing that happened though that nobody ever noticed was 1973 was the first year oil production went down in Texas, and all through the oil boom, oil production went down every year, and it continued to go down through the oil bust. And it continued to go down every year from 1973 to 2008. And the reason was the fields were old. We'd gotten the easy stuff out. We couldn't drill enough to make up what geology was taking away. Because all the oil we ever got out of the ground for most of our history, going back to the 1850s in Pennsylvania, all the oil we got out of the ground was seepage from the rocks. With the new technology, we get inside the rocks, and we get the oil out of the rocks. And of course, the fracturing technology has revolutionized things. And just, I don't want to spend a lot of time on the numbers, but just one number to give you a perspective on just how incredible this is. It went down for 35 years. We've already made up 30 years of that decline. In 2010, we're not talking ancient history here. In 2010, Texas was producing 1 million barrels of oil a day. It's about 3.5 million barrels of oil today. In 4 years, 350% increase. Over 1 million barrels a day coming from the Eagle Ford, which is what affects you, and the Permian out in West Texas. And we're very, very fortunate. Once they discovered shale and how to get into it and all that, most of it was natural gas, and they found fields all over the country. The Barnett in Fort Worth was the first one, and then it went all over the place. Only 3 of those fields have a high ratio of oil to gas. All the ones out in the Permian, Eagle Ford, and the Bakken up the Dakotas. Right now, oil is selling, a barrel of oil sells for 20 times the price, even with the recent reduction, 20 times the price the ratio of oil to gas in terms of production, the amount of BTUs is about 8 to 1. The ratio in price is about 20 to 1. Roughly $80 oil, $4 gas, versus about a 7-8 to 1 ratio in terms of BTUs. So it makes sense to put your investment in oil right now, which is why this has been such an incredible boom. It's gone down some, obviously, the price recently. That's going to probably slow down some exploration. It's going to slow down some of the new fields that we're bringing online, but it will not stop production. And the way this shale works is for production to keep going, you have to keep fracking. Because if you think about it, when it was flowing through sand, that stuff could flow for decades in one well. But now it's flowing through very, very dense rock. So you break it up, and you get a bunch of oil out of it, it falls off very quickly. If you want to get more oil, you got to do some more breaking up. And so the process keeps the industry going in a little bit different direction. There's also fundamental changes in global demand that were not there before, fundamental changes in geopolitics. I won't go into all of that today. But the bottom line is, while it will slow down some of these lower prices, we're going to be producing oil and then later gas when the price adjusts in Texas for a long time, and you're very blessed with that, and it certainly had a big impact on you both from the spinoff of the Eagle Ford as well as what it's done in terms of refining, what it's done in terms of shipping, and all the other important industries in this region. We're projecting Texas continues to outgrow. We don't gain 400,000 jobs a year, but we continue to outgrow the nation at a significant rate. This area, we're projecting, I checked our numbers last night on our latest forecast, we're projecting growth in output for the next 5 years of about 4.3% here, employment growth over 2% a year. Those are very, very good numbers, very strong numbers that will keep this area at the forefront of economic growth and development. You have very good leadership in that regard. You have a lot of things going on. Let's spend just a few minutes now talking about what we're here about today. And I'm so glad to be a part of this. As I mentioned, Governor Hobby did ask me a few years ago to help him try to put some numbers behind the push that they were making for Tier 1 universities in Texas. And the establishment of the emerging research universities, providing the funding that allows them to have more labs and more professorships and more opportunity to compete for grants and that sort of thing to accelerate even beyond that. And I think it's great that you're seeking that as a goal and why it's very important. A few years ago, back in President Bush's administration, you may remember the economy kind of slowed down for a while. The primary thing presidents do, and I've been in 5 or 6 of them now over my career, the primary thing presidents do when the economy slows down is have economic summits. Because they can get a bunch of people together, they can get a bunch of publicity, they don't have to ask Congress about it, and so you can just if the economy slows down, there's going to be an economic summit. Okay, that you can count on that. And President Bush had one of those fairly early in his administration, and he asked me to come and talk. And the topic he gave me was, why is it that since the 30s, the United States has done so well? Since then we've had this one bad recession, but really apart from that, except for a few oil disruptions, the U.S. economy has pretty much been on a roll now for almost a century. How did we do it? What makes us able to accomplish that year after year after year? And that was my task, to figure that out and talk about it. And as I got to looking at it, I found the answer came out very quickly and very simply. What makes our economy tick, and literally the only thing that really sets us apart, is the next big thing. We do the next big thing. We are the ones that innovate and create. Once that next big thing becomes a commodity, somebody else is going to produce it. Once it becomes something that can be mass-produced and done cheaply, somebody else is going to do it. So we have to do the next big thing. And that has been our perpetual success. And you can think about it in medicine, you can think about it in energy, you can think about it in electronics, any field you want to think about. We are the innovators of the world. The emerging nanotechnology movement right now, we've spent a lot of money on it. Asia spent a lot of money on it. Europe spent a lot of money on it. They all spend about the same amount of money. We have 95% of the fundamental patents. This is what we do. We know how to do this very well. And what that means is the success of our economy depends on creativity, which means smart people in universities, and training people very, very well to be smart and work on that stuff and create it and extend it and implement it and do all the other things you have to do. So really what our economy comes down to, in a nutshell, is smart people who can innovate and create and do things. And then being able to, the other important thing, which we're still working on and making more progress on, is being able to export some of that stuff once we figure it out. And those are really the two things that drive our economy above anything else. And obviously this area is big international trade, and as we expand exports, that's beneficial. But you also have to be big in that knowledge economy to compete in the future. You may think, well, we have these industries that are pretty well established here. You certainly do. And think about how they were run 20 years ago and how they're run today. Completely different. Think about what the folks in the oil field do today compared to what they did before. 40% of the new people going into the oil industry today are females. That didn't happen a few years ago, because a lot of what they do now, you don't have to be able to lift heavy things and turn heavy things and that sort of thing. You have to be able to operate machines that do that for you. And it's a different skill set. And everything is changing all the time, and it's going to continue to. And the most important thing we do is teach people how to learn. Because you're not going to walk out with a set of skills you can use for 40 years anymore. It doesn't happen. You're going to have to learn how to learn, and that's the real challenge that universities face. This university did a great thing 20 years ago to get to 4-year status, to begin to build. The community's had a lot of benefits from it. I saw the economic impact numbers that were put out, and they're very impressive. And I think those are important numbers to look at and pay attention to, but they only tell part of the story. If you can become an emerging research university, you will also become a massive importer of talent for this region. And that's very, very, very important. And just a couple of statistics about that that I learned over the years working on these issues. I'll give you 2 examples, MIT and Rice. MIT graduates, the companies that they started last year had over $2 trillion in sales worldwide. Okay? Over $2 trillion in sales worldwide, companies started by MIT graduates. 39% of those companies have some sort of presence in Massachusetts. That's not an accident. They didn't randomly draw Massachusetts out of a hat. They were educated in Massachusetts. Another example, close home, Rice, where I went to school. Roughly 10% of the kids that go to Rice are from Harris County. 33% of the graduates of Rice live in Harris County. Now think about that for a minute. It's a small school, granted, but they have a lot of smart people that go there. They have, in effect, imported 23% of all the graduates in the history of Rice University have been imported as talent into the city of Houston. And they have created things, and they have invented things, and they have started companies, and they have been very successful in building other companies. And all the influence you see there basically comes about because of that. It is almost impossible to calculate how important that is. So when you get an emerging research university, you get better students. You import more students because they want to come to an emerging research university. We have, I think, 7 of them in Texas now, 7 or 8 of them, and we need more. And we do not have one in South Texas. You get south of San Antonio, there's not an emerging research university. South of UTSA, and I'm not sure if I drew a straight line, maybe UTEP, but it's way out there. But we do not have one in South Texas. And we need at least one in South Texas. And you need one in this area because you are dealing in shipping, you're dealing in energy, you're dealing in manufacturing, and I'm sure there's a lot of other industries you'd like to be dealing in more than you are, and you are a little bit to some extent, but telecom and some of those. All of those industries require smart people and require innovation. And one of the best ways in the world to grow those industries is to invent the stuff and start the stuff and implement the stuff locally. Because that's how you make sure that it happens. One of the things, I remember years ago, one of the things that when I was asked about what made Austin do everything Austin did, there were a whole lot of things involved, a whole lot of people involved, and that sort of thing. The fact that Michael Dell's dorm room happened to be at the University of Texas didn't hurt. Okay? Because it's not just that Dell Computer is in the region, it's everything that came as a result of Dell Computer being in the region. And so those are the kinds of things that are important. Those are the kinds of things you see when you see those top students in their classes from other parts of the state and other parts of the country saying, this is where I want to come to school. Like the water, like the ocean, like the island, and we got a really great university. That's what you want to start doing. That's what you want to start attracting. And these other emerging schools are doing that right now. They're not just serving their local populations. They're attracting students from all over the place, high percentages of them in the top 10% of their class. And then when they come there, they tend to stay there. And so that's what is so important about this initiative. Dr. Killebrew, I applaud you and your team for putting this together. I think it's a very important thing for your community. I think you have a great community. You have a lot of assets. You've done well. I think you'll continue to do well. And I think this is really something that can really promote and extend this community in fundamental ways. And I really appreciate being a part of it. I'm told I have a few minutes for questions. I'll take as much as I can. Or Michael, have I used all my time? Or you're walking up here? I'm good to go. Okay. Okay. Yes, ma'am. Oh, we have microphones. That's great.
You talked about Rice and MIT and Austin. So what do you think the Coastal Bend would look like if Texas A&M University-Corpus Christi became an emerging research university?
Well, good question. What would Coastal Bend look like? Obviously, you don't become Rice or MIT or the University of Texas overnight, obviously. I mean, they have a long history, and they're all, of course, already Tier 1 and then some universities. But what we're seeing in San Antonio, what we're seeing in Dallas, what we're seeing in Arlington, what we're seeing in El Paso, we're seeing better students every year. We're seeing more research taking place every year, which that research gets commercialized. You start to see those things beginning to happen with an emerging research university. As you grow beyond that, and I'm sure once you get there, there'll be a vision 20-something else that wants to get you to the next stage, and there should be, because it's a staged process. And I can tell you, becoming Tier 1 is very difficult. I don't think any of our schools that are on the path now, the emerging universities, get to be Tier 1 really soon. Some of them have almost checked all the boxes that people like to check, $100 million in research money, whatever. They've checked all those boxes. But to get to the point you're Tier 1, actually the world has to recognize you as Tier 1. Be it a membership associated with American universities or something else, that takes a long time. You can have all the boxes checked for 5 or 10 years before somebody actually realizes, hey, they got all the boxes checked. So it's a tough process to get there, but it really doesn't matter because in the process of getting there, you're doing all the things you need to be doing. And you're getting all the benefits that you can get from it. And yes, someday somebody recognizes it, but the most important thing is you're doing the research, you're creating the products, you're creating the innovation, you're bringing in the great students, they're graduating, they're staying here, they're doing things, they're starting businesses. So what you get is you basically get a more dynamic research environment, and creative environment, which is very, very good for a community, and you get, on the whole, a bunch of smart kids graduating and staying here. And that's what you get more than you have now. And those things pay huge dividends in a knowledge-based, innovation-driven economy where all we really get rewarded for in this country is the next big thing. Okay.
I have a question.
I can't see you yet, but go ahead. I can hear you. Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Texas A&M Corpus Christi has a very large international population. I think we've got kids from 52 countries. Mm-hmm. It's hard for them to stay here because it's hard for people to hire international students. How can we make it easier for local business to hire this talent and keep it here?
Well, I think there's a lot of steps involved in that. Hopefully we get some help from a legal perspective fairly soon, and there seems to be some, although there's some controversy today, there seems to be some movement in that general direction, and I think people are recognizing the importance of particularly keeping very talented, smart folks here. So I think that's part of it. We have to rely on folks beyond our shores or beyond our immediate control. But I also think an education process is important to make sure everybody in the community is aware of them, what they're doing, what their skills are, what their abilities are, and that sort of thing. I think a greater awareness is always a good thing as well. But we're going to need some legislative help on that, which the stars seem to be aligning to get some of that at some point. We've got to get through the current fuss, and I recognize that. I think people are beginning to recognize the importance of that, and particularly as our population ages and we're retiring a lot of really smart folks, the need to import talent is really, really critical, and I think that awareness is beginning to sink in. Okay? Yes, sir. What does $75 oil do to the pipeline? Before I answer that, let me give a quick disclaimer. I was the person who did the studies and testified to the State Department and everything else about the jobs associated with the KXL pipeline. So whenever you hear somebody make a speech and say they don't know what they're talking about me. Okay, just get that out up front. Okay. Somehow I concluded that if you spend $6 billion building something, it's going to have an economic impact. I don't know how I did that, but somehow I did. I also concluded if you bring more supply into a market, the price goes down. I don't know how I got there, but I did, and I'm sorry, I didn't mean it. But no, seriously, one quick funny story, and I'm going to go a little bit over time, and I apologize. I have to tell this. When I testified before the State Department on this thing, they had a bunch of us who were the experts testify, and they had an open comment period. And it was funny, you had a room full of Democrats who were mad at each other. You had the organized labor on one half of the room and the environmentalists on the other half of the room. Some of them didn't, and they were all passionate. And they got there for their 3 minutes. One lady just finally gets up and says, marijuana is the answer. So, and the people in a public comment phase, if you've ever been in a public hearing, they're just supposed to listen. You're not supposed to comment. And Secretary Clinton had just left the room, but there was a guy in charge there who was running the deal. And he did a very, very good job of explaining in very even terms why we're here. These are the arguments on this side. These are the arguments on that side. Did an excellent. Nobody could fault him. He did a great job of explaining it. And, ma'am, would you like to make your statement? Marijuana is the answer. So I never knew what the question was, but marijuana was the answer. So anyway, but that was just one of the funny things that happened in the hearing. The problem with this $75 oil, I don't think impacts the KXL pipeline. I mean, it may impact the investors deciding if they want to do it or not. And that's something. Politics is driving the KXL pipeline right now. I mean, this is a pretty routine piece of infrastructure. That it really is. I mean, I think about it all the time. I have a really, really, really nice house on 4.5 acres, a really, really nice landscape property in Odessa, Texas. I have 2 pipeline easements on my property, and I don't even think about it. I mean, that's just it's when you grow up around it, it's a way of life. And it's just a pretty routine piece of infrastructure. It's going to be built in a very strong way, very proper way. And if people want to invest their money and build it, I don't think it should be this problem. The complaints about it are, number one, that this is dirty oil, and we don't want this dirty oil produced. And number two is that when they get it down here, it's all going to go overseas. Well, okay, let's say both those are true. I think they are probably pretty much true. Stopping the pipeline doesn't stop the oil from getting produced. It determines where it gets shipped after it's produced. It's going to get produced. And it's going to get refined. And it's going to get sold, and it's going to get sold in the global market. If we need it, we'll buy it. If somebody else needs it, they'll buy it. Just like the stuff y'all refine down here right now, I don't think anybody complains because you sell so much to other places. I think it's pretty happy about that last time I checked. So the issue really is, do we want the oil refined in Texas, or do we want the oil refined somewhere west of here and north of here? My choice would be Texas. So it's kind of a silly set of arguments that have come up around it, and the economics have completely gone out the window. It's purely political. What I assume will happen at this point is Congress will pass something in January to approve it, and the president will probably veto it. I mean, I think that's that's the most likely scenario, but that's just politics. That could change on either side for a number of reasons between now and then. But it ceased to be a political, or it's really ceased to be an economic issue a long time ago. And all the things that should be done to grant a permit, I've been involved in granting 50 or 60 permits in my life. All of them have been done 15 times. I mean, there's no other issue there. If there are some legitimate environmental concerns, they need to be addressed. We need to figure out how to burn that oil cleaner than we burn it now. We need to do that. People are working on that. The pipeline, they were concerned about going through some sensitive areas. They moved the route. You need to deal with the issues that are out there to deal with. But then, if private investors want to invest billions of dollars in building something that they may make money on and they may not, depending on the demand for oil, it's kind of their business. Nobody else is taking that risk. They are. The employment argument has diminished a lot. Because obviously, it doesn't create a lot of jobs once the pipeline's built. Well, that's obvious. No pipeline does. We never said it would create a lot of jobs once it was built. It created a lot of jobs building it. Well, they tried to argue about that. I swear, if y'all hired people to spend $6 billion digging holes in the front of this building and filling them back up, don't do anything, just dig the holes and fill them back up. If you spend $6 billion doing that, you're going to have a heck of an economic impact. Because you're going to pay those people, they're going to buy stuff with that money, and it's going to go all over the economy. You can't spend $6 billion and not have an economic impact. No matter how hard you try, you can't do it. Okay? But at the time this whole thing started, we're in the middle of a recession, and there was nothing going on. And that was a huge deal to have $6 billion in new investment. Now we're back in a recovery mode. There's a lot of stuff going on. It's not as, that argument's kind of been diminished simply because we're not desperate for construction jobs like we were at that point in time. And so there's, that argument's probably been diminished to some extent. But anyway, it's all politics now. So I don't think $75 oil has much to do with it other than what it may impact what the investors want to do if they ever get a chance to do anything. And I think that's political more than economic. And on that happy note, thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Dr. Perryman. Thanks for bringing your perspective on all of the possibilities for Corpus Christi in the coming years and the role of our university, Texas A&M Corpus Christi, especially those roles we can play in keeping the forward momentum in our community. Please give Dr. Perryman another round of applause. We would now like to invite our Young Business Professional President, Joshua Tijerina, up to the stage to tell you a little bit more about joining the Young Business Professional.
Thank you. On behalf of YBP, we would like to thank everyone for attending today. We are excited to be taking the lead on the initiative to make Texas A&M University-Corpus Christi an emerging research university. It is known that one of the top 3 items that companies look at when moving into a community is the educated workforce, which the university can help provide. In fact, emerging research will bring a new diversity to the economy of the Coastal Bend by bringing in technology companies and a diversity of job opportunities. It will change the future of Corpus Christi and will attract even more highly talented and educated professionals to the area. This movement will increase our tax base, allow us to repair our infrastructure issues, as well as build up the cultural aspects of the community. Through helping Texas A&M University-Corpus Christi develop into an emerging research university, it can do for Corpus Christi what the University of Texas has done for Austin. In other words, a research university is the answer to a long-term, diversified growth for the Coastal Bend. That is what RU4CC is about, an emerging research university in Corpus Christi, Texas. Now, this is a large movement and undertaking, so it will take the entire community support to make it happen. On your tables today is a card right in front of you. It looks like this. It's a little bookmark on your table. You can fill this card out to find out more information on getting involved in the RU4CC movement. I encourage you to fill it out or go online to ru4cc.tamucc.edu to take the pledge and sign up and help make this initiative happen for Corpus Christi. Now, don't forget, YBP is leading the charge, so if your company or anyone you know is not involved in YBP at this time, you can join by visiting ybpcb.com/join, so you can keep up to date on this initiative and the many other events and projects that the young business professionals are taking on at this time. So finally, we'd like to close out with one question for every single one of you in here. Are you for Corpus Christi? Because if the answer is yes, we want to see you sign up in support of this initiative today and tell everyone you know that RU4CC is for the future of this community. President Killebrew, we, the young business professionals of the Coastal Bend, ask you to help us achieving this, our top priority and initiative, to make Texas A&M University-Corpus Christi the next emerging research university in the state of Texas. Let's make this happen. Thank you.
Thank you for attending today and your continued support. Please be sure to take with you from the table a reminder of your 4UCC pledge. There should be about 8 of them at each table, if not a little bit more. But drive safely, and y'all have a great afternoon.